Maximize your wealth now.
Yes, in business, finance, family, and lifestyle. Think about it. As a certified financial educator, my whole goal for this program originally was to bring business and finance together with spiritual principles and universal laws. And all of it needs to come from the heart. Got it?
Maximize your wealth now.
Absolutely. Yes!
Welcome to Maximize Your Wealth Now.
In business, finance, family, and lifestyle. I'm Shirlene Reeves.
And I'm Barbara Wainwright, and we have some very special guests for you today. Our first guest is Bobby DePorter, co-founder of Quantum Learning Network, and she's going to share with you the huge difference she's making in the lives of children all over the world.
And we also have Laurie Zerga. She has been a business coach for over 20 years. And what I love about her is she knows all about systems. She's going to share with us when we should have systems in our business, what kind of systems we need to have, and what a difference it's going to make in our business. So let's get started right away.
Bobby DePorter is president of Quantum Learning Network, producing Super Camp Summer Enrichment Programs, now with 70,000 graduates and programs in 14 countries, and Quantum Learning Education, with programs for teachers, administrators, students, and parents. Quantum Learning has trained over 100,000 teachers, and through these programs and the 8 Keys of Excellence movement, has impacted more than 20 million students over the last 30 plus years.
I'm here with the founder of Super Camp and Quantum Learning Network, Bobby DePorter. And Bobby, we'd love to hear from you a little bit about what did you feel today? What was this experience like for you?
Well, it filled me up for sure because we created the 8 Keys of Excellence to share with the world and to be here with all these students and see them owning the keys, being able to repeat them, get excited about them, because it is all about them really understanding what they are and incorporating them in their life and showing it to the world. So I was really filled up with joy today just watching all the students.
Along with Stedman Graham, Bobby is the co-founder of Kay's Community Alliance for Youth Success. She is the author of over a dozen books, including newly released Excellence in Teaching and Learning, the Quantum Learning System. Bobby is the recipient of the Women of Influence Lifetime Legacy Award, the Global Presence Humanitarian Award from Parenting 2.0, and was on Fast Company Magazine's Fast 50 list of leading creative thinkers.
So glad that you were able to join us today, Bobby, because I know you're a very busy woman. I super appreciate you being here.
I appreciate the opportunity and fun to be here with you.
So I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey. I know it was a difficult process for you to get to where you are today. So if you I would love it if you'd share a little bit about that journey.
Sure. I was in a place where I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I was married and had 2 children, really trying to figure out what more I wanted to do with my life. Well, I ended up with a company that was just forming in San Francisco, a real estate and investment company. And I always remember when I joined there because during my interview, it was one person said to another, one of the partners, saying, "Why did you bring in a housewife with no experience?" So it was kind of like, okay, regroup here. But I always remember that because I knew what I wanted, so I just let it go right through me. And I was hired, and they gave me an annual goal. Well, when I started working there, it turns out I made my annual goal on my very first day on the job.
That's
so
wonderful.
It was like, that's over with. Now I can just
tick that box.
Yeah, tick that off. But the things that I learned there, it was a very unique company because we focused on relationship, both internal and external. It was about win-win business before that was a popular term. It was about being 100% responsible for our results. And we were very successful, and hundreds of people wanted to come work there. So I left with one of the partners, and we formed a program, a company, to teach what was working so well in the company. And it wasn't just to sell real estate or investments. It was really about the culture that we created and how do you get people inspired. So a lot of the things I learned there, these are actually the things that I'm using with youth around the world now and teaching people to be better learners.
I love that. And I know that you have the Quantum Learning Network and that you have programs that help with accelerated learning, right?
Yes.
So I'd love to hear about Super Camp.
Yeah. Well, the accelerated learning, if I could just go back there
Yes.
too, because it was when I was working with adults that I heard about a man by the name of Dr. Georgi Lozanov from Bulgaria. And if I were to pinpoint one thing in my life that really made the difference for me and changed the direction of my life was learning from him, because he's considered the founder of accelerative learning, and it's learning faster with more fun. So we took his methods and applied it to the business school that we were doing, the adult programs we were doing, and we found adults were learning so much and so fast, and we were teaching them how to learn. And so it was these adults that said, you've got to do something for our kids. And so that started the first Super Camp, and then I had teenager myself, so started the first Super Camp. And you know that was 35 years ago now.
My goodness.
Really a long time ago that we started that first program. But I can remember that first program.
Wow.
We had 64 students, and I can remember, I think, all of them at this point. And here 35 years later, we now have over 70,000 students have gone through the 8 to 10 day program. And we do them here in the U.S. on university campuses, and we're also in 14 countries.
My God. Bobby, tell me, what is it that the children learn when they go to Super Camp?
Well, it's all about learning how to learn. You know that it's often assumed that students go to school, they should be excellent learners, but we found that they most often aren't. And learning how to learn is a lifelong skill for people of all ages. So they learn how effective reading, writing, thinking, speaking, memory, note-taking.
Wow.
And they also learn life skills. So it is also looking about their values and how they're leading their life. That's really powerful, students to really examine, who they are, what they believe, what their values are, and then what their actions are out in the world, along with better communication relationships. They start feeling better about themselves.
And how long does it go? I know you do it all over the world, right?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have programs for middle school, high school, and college-age students, and we have 8 to 10 day programs. So, yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, they live residential in a university campus, so they also experience what it is to go to a university, and you know what a difference that makes to have experience, live in the dorm, eat in the cafeteria, walk across campus, so that it future paces them and really seeing that, college is close.
And you have your Quantum Learning Center right here in San Diego also.
We do have a center here. This is where our offices are. And, we call the methods that we do quantum learning. And we also now go into schools. So we've been invited into schools across the country. This has been 20 years into schools. And we teach teachers to be more effective teachers and students to be more effective students. And we also work with the administration because it's so important to have a positive school-wide culture.
It is. And one of your tools that I'm aware of are the 8 keys of excellence.
Yes.
And that really helps to raise their self-esteem and helps them it's speak with purpose and that type of thing.
Yes.
Would you like to share about those?
Well, yes, there are a set of guiding principles.
Yes.
And they create a core inside of the students, actually people of all ages. And so that the 8 keys of excellence are things like integrity and commitment and flexibility, as you said, speak with good purpose and balance. And when they adopt these and they create their core, it really defines who they are.
Yes.
And for students, when they know who they are and then they show who they are to the world because they have the confidence to speak up, and that's so important that they find their voice.
Yes.
And when they know who they are and express it, and then they get positive feedback, that just makes all the difference in the world for them of just feeling comfortable who they are, and it shows up in everything in their life, from their relationships with their parents to how they interact with friends, they're taking responsibility for their homework. These are all things that show up in their life that really make a difference for them. And we've been doing it for so long now that we have adults who are parents that went to Super Camp who are now sending their children. So,
really?
And they're still living the 8 keys of excellence and talking about it, and still using their reading skills or memory skills. So it's fun to see, it go full cycle. But I'm just passionate about teaching and learning and the difference that it makes for people.
When you do the super camp, do they go to the Quantum Learning Center, or do they go, you said universities,
Yes.
but do they also go to the Learning Center? You have such a beautiful facility.
I know, we do. Mostly it's for us, we train staff there.
Oh, okay.
And when we do the youth programs, it's either out on a university campus, and we've been at Stanford University for over 25 years.
Oh my gosh.
Long time, and we use other campuses around. And then we also do student programs directly in schools as well.
Wow, you know, when they go to Stanford, that must really help them dream big for their future, right?
It is. I know it's nice to say, what did you do for the summer? Well, I went to Stanford.
Not many people can say they went to Stanford, you know, that's big.
Well, it's a mindset when they're there, and to be in the dorms and the classrooms, that they get the feel of what it would be to be there.
Now, do the parents get involved in this at all?
The parents come to the last day, and so we have a closing ceremony where they learn a lot of the skills the students learned, and we also have the students teaching the parents, but we support them throughout the year as well, so it gets to be a family affair.
Wow,
where
that's
they
wonderful.
adopt the 8 keys and practice the learning skills, because it really does make a shift. It's a transformation in who you are as a person. You see it.
Yes, and I bet it really changes the children that are in high school and junior high, because they're so impressionable at that age.
Yes.
And it's peer pressure, so tough.
Just a couple of days ago, we had one of our closing ceremonies, and I talked to one of the students. His name was Josh, and he's a boy that had lots of challenges. He had 3 back surgeries for one, so he stood a little differently. And in middle school, he was bullied and just was really introverted and quiet about that. He went to super camp, and it was just a few days ago he shared with me about after super camp he went the next year to school, started high school, and he said, I just was different, the way I presented myself, the way I talked to students. And he said, what happened is students treated me differently.
Wow.
And then even if a bullied situation would come up, he said, I handled that differently, and they would just go away. So
that's
it means
beautiful.
a lot to them. And you can imagine how the parents feel when their own child has this shift in their life and how they feel. I have another dad that talked to me because his daughter shared with him for the first time when she was in 3rd grade, a teacher had told her she was stupid. And she took it internally. She really thought that was her. And she wouldn't share it with anyone. And so after she went with super camp, she just learned who she is and her skills and had different mindset about herself. And on the way home told her dad, he said, I'm tired of feeling stupid. I'm not going to do that anymore. I know who I am and how I'm going to be in the world. So, you know, that's what keeps me going. That is. I'm very passionate about it, and every time I talk to the students and go to the programs, I get filled up.
Yes, I could imagine.
Yeah.
I could imagine.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So I just want to say we're getting close to wrapping up. So I want to know, is there one technique for learning to learn that you could share with us?
Well, one is focus.
Okay.
You know that we put our mind on so many things at once. So we have something that's called cue up. So one is sit up.
Okay.
So you sit up tall. So sit up and then picture what you want.
Nice.
And then breathe and release. So relax your jaw and chin and release.
Oh,
and we just say cue up, and you can focus. And you feel better about what you're working on. It helps you get in the flow.
Wow.
That was beautiful.
Thank you for that.
That was a gift.
Wonderful.
Thank you. And that's
Well,
just
thanks for so much for being with us today. And we really, really feel honored that you're here with us and that you took your time out of your busy day.
Well, thanks for your interest.
You're welcome.
All right.
Hi, I'm Shirlene Reeves with Maximize Your Wealth Now with a new tip on how to maximize your wealth. What if you could compel your clients rather than selling them so that they would work with you? Wouldn't that be so much easier? Wouldn't it be easier to have more income? I talk to entrepreneur after entrepreneur, and they're running from networking group to networking group, and they're so tired. And the reason they're tired is because they're not making any money, and they don't know how to work with their perfect clients. What if I said to you, compel, don't sell, and I could give you the tips for how to do that. I'm tearing back the curtain, and I'm going to show you how I built my business from zero to multi-millions, and I want you to make multi-millions too. So check it out on my website, maximizeyourwealthnow.com, and get signed up for the next class. I promise you, I guarantee you, you won't be sorry.
Laurie Zerga, founder Booming Business with Ease, combines her passion for relationships, community, and business to support entrepreneurs and CEOs. She helps clients 10x their value with tips that provide the shortest distance to their revenue goals. These big corporate tips work for companies big and small, but very few small and medium-sized businesses use these techniques that allow them to serve a lot more people and increase the bottom line. She climbed to officer from Bechtel, Siemens, and Charles Schwab. Later, she transitioned first to business consultant, then a heart-based entrepreneur, launching Chef K, a national presence. In addition to her strong business experience, she chairs Women in Business Committee for her local chamber. Laurie is a business coach that supports CEOs and grows their companies by tapping into their full potential. She leads them to analyze, strategize, and systematize their business to support rapid growth. She has an uncanny ability to identify small changes to take them from surviving to thriving. She guides her clients through her process to build a dream business and life. She does this as a speaker and through workshops in San Francisco Bay Area, online training, coaching, and consulting program.
Hi, Laurie. Welcome to the set. You're bringing so much great information.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Really appreciate you having me.
So tell us about business systems. When is it that we need them, and how do you define them?
Well, the business systems are kind of the not so sexy part of business. People don't really think about them, but it's really the backbone of any business. Like, everybody knows about marketing and sales, but when you get your sales big and you can't deliver and you haven't put your systems in place, that's where you can fall apart.
Oh, and that's where the growing pains come in, right?
And that's where the growing pains come in, and firefighting mode and things like that.
So what you're saying is that if people are at a place where they're really trying to grow and they're struggling, that's the time they really need to look at systems. Is that right?
Before they start to struggle.
Yeah.
When they decide that they want to grow, find some systems.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And it's really about putting in place things that can be repeatable, that you can train your team, and really leverage yourself and your time. So many CEOs are just on a hamster wheel, running. And if they learn to leverage systems, it really supports them with growth.
What kind of systems do you recommend people put in place? Like, if they're manufacturing, it's going to be a supply chain planning system and that type of thing. So what type of business people do you normally work with?
Well, I actually have worked with service providers as well as product or manufacturers, food companies. It really is about looking at different components. So it's looking at your pricing and your packaging, your products, your delivery systems. If you're doing services, it can be the same thing. How are you packaging your services together? How are you pricing? How are you delivering? So those are some of the keys.
Nice. So I'm really curious. Do you have certain systems, developers of systems, or do you do custom development, or what do you recommend?
What I really do is I go through and analyze, and then strategize, and then systematize. So there's those pieces that you want to look at, and then depending on where you are and what the vision is for the CEO or the business, you look at gaps, and then you can start to define what are the most appropriate and prioritize them.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is just like the foundation system that you always have to have in your business, no matter what?
Well, I think there's pieces around your high-performance teams and what they're doing, and you always have your production piece, you always have sales and marketing, you always have finance, and you always have to have a method of delivering a system.
Yeah. That's a lot of
Delivering
systems
your
right
product.
there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's systems to everything. You know, a lot of people think, oh, it's a sales team, but there's all the pieces around once the sale's made, what happens, you know?
Yeah, and just putting the brochures together or whatever they're doing online or, you know, that's tough enough. And what about automation? I'm really into automation because I like things to happen on their own.
Yeah, automation is always, it is, you know, you want to set and let it do its thing, right?
Right.
So you want to look for that. And it just depends on the type of business, you know, where you can put those things in place.
Yeah, because I know even putting this show together, we had to get systems in place in order to get it to run smoothly. And we still have bobbles. There's just nothing we can do about it. And we get behind or whatever, you know. How do you deal with that?
Well, it's really just about documenting as you go, you know. I'm a foodie at heart. I was, you know, my Italian background, lots of food and cooking, and Nani didn't cook by recipes, but I would follow her around and write the recipes, right? So it's the same thing. You're almost like writing the recipe for how to do certain things in your business, right?
Yes, yes. So do you work with the automation as well as working with individuals that put the systems into place?
Right. Well, it can be. I have a really strong technology background, so that's where I came up through the ranks, was doing systems analysis and then working with the technology teams to automate it with production. So I don't do that day to day, but I definitely pull that in if that's a priority.
Do you have a story about a client that you worked with that maybe just was so successful based on your systems? I'd love to hear it if you do.
Well, I have one client that was in food production. He had a creamery, and we put systems in place, and mostly what we looked at was his delivery and his pricing and how he was production. By increasing the sales, we were able to increase and put on new teams for production of cheese and butter. You know? And we looked at balancing his channels too. So he had a retail group, and he only had one client, one big client in commercials. So then we distributed to multiple commercial clients, and that was what we did with him. And his gross increased like 2.5 times in just 6 months.
Oh my gosh, in 6 months?
Yeah, people are looking for low-hanging fruit, and sometimes they're standing in a melon field. You know, it's like, there's a lot of things that you can do that are really simple that are big impact.
I love that example with the low-hanging fruit and you're standing in a melon field. That's a really good one.
It's not my original, but I love it. It's a great visual.
And when do people normally get to you? When do people step into and really recognize that they need you?
Well, it's usually when they're making a big change. They might have gotten a new contract, a big contract, and they know they need to do something in a different way. They need to bring more people in, and they just need to get to that next level, and that's a lot of times what they'll say to me. I need you to help me get to the next level.
Yeah, I get that, because people can be in there, it's like being in the forest, and so you can't really look at the forest because you're in it. And so it's so great to have somebody that can come and take a look and from the top down and really say, oh, I see your gaps, and here's what we need to.
Right, and the really important thing is not just to jump up there, but to hold their hand and guide them as well, because they need to be able to understand it when I leave, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, otherwise things can all fall apart. So that's a really important key.
Do you ever have trouble getting buy-in from the people that are working there? Like, I know sometimes in systems you're maybe replacing people with this automated system or program? And I don't know, do you ever have any problem with employee type?
You know, people are always hesitant. There's a lot of times change is hard and it's scary, right?
Yes.
So that does happen, but I really integrate and include. I'm very inclusive. I'm a very good communicator.
Nice.
So they understand that they are key to developing the systems because they're the experts on what they're doing now, and then we just need to look on how to automate it. So oftentimes it's a way for them to empower them and grow
Yes.
them into a new position. And not everybody wants to do that.
That's right.
Yeah, I have another client that had 4 jewelry stores, and she was managing them all directly. And so to do what she wanted to do next, we had to grow her people.
Yes.
And put in management. And one woman didn't want to continue that way. So which was great because she ended up being able to bring in a manager that was experienced and model for her other senior people.
Yeah.
You know, because change is, you know, you have to guide people through change.
And so that's basically what you're doing is you're like, I'm a change agent and I'm bringing it, and so I just figured there would be some resistance sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a matter, it's people's skills to be able to make them feel safe.
Yes,
You know?
that's it, isn't it? Making them feel safe.
So you must come in and put out the biggest fires first, right?
Yes. Yeah, sometimes you have to do the stopgap, and you know, usually there's a phased approach, like this is the emergency, you know, drill right now, and then you look at the strategy of how to evolve over time. You really put in priorities.
And what would you say is the time frame for actually putting a full system base into place with businesses?
I usually work with businesses a minimum of 6 months. You know, you can see tangible change with 6 months. You know.
That's not too bad,
No,
6 months.
no.
If you could put out that fire first.
Yeah.
And increased revenue is 2.5 times?
Yeah, I'm all good with that.
Well, 6 months is the minimum, and then, you know, depending on the company and how big it is, you can stay longer. You know, it sometimes is longer, but.
So obviously you have a team around you because I'm sure you have a system for your own business. Give us an idea of what your system looks like.
Well, it really, as I say, I will come in and do a visioning with the business, the owner and the senior team. And that's important to make sure people are buying in, right, too, because it's developing it together, making sure you understand the vision. And then it's analyzing. And so we do financial reports and look at, you know, really do a tour and document what the existing system is and look for the gaps for the vision. And then, so I have teams that will help, you know, gather the information with the business, etc. And then from there, you want to do the strategy of what is the priority, like what things you're going to do first, what things maybe you're going to put off later.
Right.
And so that's kind of what we do, and then we start to systematize. Hi, I'm a business coach to CEOs of private companies like Larry, who increased his gross 2.5 times in 6 months. I help my clients to develop high-performance teams while building systems for rapid growth and change. Many small companies and even medium-sized companies don't know these corporate big tips and techniques. Contact me to support you.
What is your favorite part of what you do?
My favorite part of what I do is just working with the people and seeing them feel like they have more ease.
That's
nice,
awesome.
nice.
That's awesome. Well, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave with our viewers?
I just would love people to look at their business in a way that they can find and define a booming business with ease.
Booming,
Wonderful.
I like that. Booming business with ease.
Woohoo! Thank you for being with us today, Laurie. We've just really enjoyed learning from you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you having me again.